All right, doing some work, I see.
Yes.
What are we making?
Stuff. I am gonna make some bracelets and some Chola Boss hoops here.
Ooh.
I gotta put together. So I need some glue, which is not fun.
Couple of questions. How's your experience going with this whole organizing?
I'll be honest, at first I was stressed because I really don't ever show one of my full spaces is just one versus the metal one downtown. Just because everything is so tedious and all over the place, beads are always just everywhere, and sometimes it's just madness. You know what I mean? This is minimal on the table, but so at first I was feeling stressed, but then inside I knew I need to get all of this feeling sparking joy.
Yeah.
I want stuff that when I come into my space, I want to feel happy. This is a space that I'm thankful for. It provides for my family. It provides a purpose for the world for me to share my own talents.
Yeah.
And so how can I not have it actually flow and have good energy? Not that it wasn't before, but it was more hectic.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel everything has energy. So when you move that out, it creates a better workflow.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted it to really spark more joy and get back to being in that space of my purpose. You know, sometimes I'm too in my masculine of providing, and not being in my feminine energy, and I really need to be in that feminine energy. And what that means, if people don't understand, both masculine and feminine, right, have its own properties, purposes. And feminine is more intuitive, taps into being more creative, taps into being nurturing. And so those type of elements, when you're in that, that's how you're able to create in that way. When
Ilaments,
yes.
It's like an element.
Yes, exactly. So that was created on purpose. I couldn't figure out when I started in 97 what I wanted my business to be named.
I'm sorry, when did you start?
I started in 97.
So you're not new to the game.
No, it's been a minute. And when I started working, I actually worked for another jewelry designer. I already made jewelry. We met in my jewelry class. But she had a company, and it's actually called Wasabi. And she's third generation Japanese, which is Sansei. So she really incorporated her culture in terms of naming her company that, representing her business in that way. But she didn't use her own personal name. So when I started my own company, I thought about what do I use, to separate and to make it unique. And my cousin one day, she's like, why don't you just use your middle name, which is Isla, and it's Hopi. So it connects me to culture. And then the ments comes from elements. So it could be your urban elements. It could be air, earth, water, fire. It could be, different type of elements that, affect the design. So that's how I came up with Ilaments. And then it became its own unique entity. So when you create a business and it has its own unique name, there's no one that's going to have that, website or email. So you're really able to capture your own space, right?
Yeah.
For yourself.
Yeah.
So that's how it kind of came to be.
Nice.
So I'm really excited because this brings new joy. And for example, I've had my jewelry bench for over a year. I have one downtown, but to have one in my own space, and I have not made time to really set it up. So the fact that we moved it so that it's open, airy, because a lot of times you don't want to do that type of work where it's enclosed, so it's great we put it by the door. But now I have it set up so I can do my metal, what things I can do here. I have a lot more machinery downtown, but this really makes me happy because now it's it's open, it's available, it's ready, and now I have to meet it, align myself to it. So I think that was also part of it, was realigning myself with my purpose and understanding this is part of me, and regardless if I decide to do other things, this is always going to be a part of me. So it hit me on Saturday morning. Got up really early, at 7 in the morning, to meet my friend, two of my girlfriends, for a big, beauty event. I never do that type of stuff. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm going to get a facial, I'm going to get makeup, I'm going to do all this refueling in sense of like self-love, right? And purpose for yourself.
Yeah.
And then I thought, why wouldn't I do that with my space?
Mm.
And I felt so re-energized throughout the whole day that my skin felt beautiful. I felt beautiful. I felt happy. Oh, I have new stuff to make me feel good and my skin feel good. That I thought, what if I did that and applied that to my home and to my space? How would that re-energize my space to give me more fuel to do what I do? Right. And then that comes into play with each other, that I was like, oh my God, like I see when you do your stuff, right, with other people's spaces, and this brings you joy. To me, this was stress, like, oh my God, how am I going to fix, because it's so small, how am I going to make these spaces really like work, right, and function and not get crazy again. Give it its own place. But to you, you're like, oh, boom, boom, that goes here, this is it, and then boom, it was like water for you. So that's great. That is open to say, okay, I'm ready to make myself open to and aligned again to my purpose, because it's been 20 years. And I think the thing about business is that people give up too quickly and too soon, because you get tired and sometimes you hit a wall. Sometimes you're not inspired anymore. Sometimes you're just like, you know what, that didn't work out, I'm done. And the lesson I feel I've learned is that not to be done, but to rest. And I've heard that many, many times from different other entrepreneurs. And it's really true.
What is having a space like this or getting organized like this? I know you mentioned it, touch it, it's going to give you joy, but on a deeper level, when it comes to the healing and whatnot, what else do you think, or what do you know that it does for you when you do clear up your space?
Well, I think it goes back to mindset. So we are really a vessel, right, that's experiencing this journey here in this space. And if you understand that you are part of a higher, energy, right, source, if, depending on how religious you are or spiritual, that runs through you. So I feel like anytime I'm working and I'm being inspired, like the Most High is running through me. Spirit is constantly like, oh, create this way. What about this? Like I'm listening at all times, to my intuitive, calling my intuitive like messages to say, do this, do that, don't do that. So with the space, it's also that way too. Like everything in this divine timing. So because I am big on that, I've experienced it in terms of like my own spiritual journey, my own, experiences of gifting people, certain stones and seeing it actually heal and removing the residue of life, meaning because you pick up different energies and when you're around different people or different spaces, so how could that not also be for your own space, right? And so when you start to move stuff out and letting it go, like it really creates space to new things to come, but also creates, I don't know, it feels different. It feels uplifting. It feels like a shed, like you're shedding. And it's just you're shedding that energy. And sometimes those things aren't going to serve you anymore. So that's kind of how like I see doing my work, how it kind of makes sense in that way. It just really, I've been really thinking about it because I'm going to be moving into doing a lot of jewelry therapy workshops, which I'm still, like, oh, this makes sense. It feels good, but it's still like, really? But yes. So once I decided, that's the other thing you decide, I had to be, I guess, secure and know, how are these stones really going to do that? You know what I mean? Because I believe in a higher purpose, like, not a higher purpose, a higher, source of energy or a higher, I believe in the Most High. So it's like, I know He's like the main source for what I need. How could it be stones or other things? But the reality is He uses things here on earth that He's created to get His work done. Right? So I've come to the information, I guess, across information, that stones really do heal you in taking the residue of life and energies that you experience.